It's vintage lighting equipment time again with the General Electric security light. It's in this very 1970s looking brown and beige box. It's obviously some kind of little light that you plug into the wall that automatically comes on when the power fails, or you can manually turn it on with this switch. There's the light lens on the front and some kind of indicator down here. And it just plugs into a standard 2-prong, non-polarized AC outlet. And indeed, it is from the 1970s because it was announced in the March-April 1977 edition of General Electric's own Monogram magazine. The headline of What's New from their Housewares and Audio Business division at the time was 40-channel CB radio. But here is that security light next to a weather radio and coffee maker. They wrote, "When the power fails, no one's left in the dark if his home is equipped with HABD's new Home Sentry security light, which automatically comes on when power failures occur. With the switch set at auto, the light charges from household current, and it may also be used as a portable flashlight." And the timing of this product announcement proved to be fortuitous because just a few months later, in July 1977, a major blackout hit the New York City area, leaving millions of people in the dark for up to 24 hours. So that was front and center on the item's eye-catching retail packaging. GE Home Sentry Security Light lights automatically during power failures. On the back, they said it's a 3-in-1 light, useful as a power failure light, rechargeable flashlight, or night light. And on the top, they have an ominous drawing of a home in the midst of a thunderstorm, which was the event that triggered a series of cascade failures which led to that New York City blackout. As for how much the GE Home Sentry security light cost when it was new, you could get it at Bruno's Appliance and Furniture Center for $9.95. As for how to operate the General Electric security light, there are some instructions embossed directly into the back of the case, which are very hard to read. But GE must have realized their mistake because a later version of the security light has a much more readable sticker on the back. It says, "To operate, plug into continuously live wall outlet. Charge 24 hours. Charge in auto or off positions." And the switch positions are pretty logical. You set it to the on position to turn on the security light or use it as a flashlight. You set it to auto for charging and also to use it as a night light. And setting it to the off position turns everything off. Unfortunately, despite doing as instructed and charging it for 24 hours, the only sign of life I get from it is that night light, which is a little neon orange bulb. Otherwise, the main light does not come on when I set the switch to auto or on. It could be a burned out bulb, but much more likely is that whatever battery is built into this thing no longer holds a charge after more than 45 years. And I noticed on the back it runs on 120 volts and consumes only 0.5 watts. And obviously this incandescent light bulb is not going to run on half a watt. So that means the AC power input on this is only for trickle charging the battery. It does not directly power the light bulb. After taking out the screw, you can pop off the front lens, which gives you access to replace the light bulb, which is surrounded by a silver painted piece of paper to act as a reflector. And there is that little light bulb. It's just a flashlight bulb. But I want to get further than this to see that battery that's inside. And there it is, a very simple looking circuit board with the AC power going in, some diodes, capacitors, resistors, one transistor. There's the light bulb, the neon bulb, and these two funky looking National Panasonic battery cells. Actually, looking closer, instead of National Panasonic, it says National Pananica, referring to the fact that this is a NiCad rechargeable battery cell. So these are nickel-cadmium rechargeable batteries. There's the positive terminal on the top and the negative terminal down there. And let me see if I can turn this around to get you a better look at what's on the back there. It says sealed nickel-cadmium battery P-25AA 1.2 volt 250 milliamp hour rechargeable. It says charge 15 hours at 25 milliamps. Made in Japan. Despite having AA in their model number, these are not AA batteries. You can tell just by looking at them, they're not the right shape. They are the same diameter as a AA battery, but they're a little bit more than half the length. So here is a standard AA nickel metal hydride rechargeable battery, and there you can see the comparison. And despite those decrepit old NiCad cells being no good, the light bulb itself is still fine. Powering it directly with another battery, it lights up. If you do need to replace the bulb, it takes a GE number 14 light bulb, which is the kind that was used in flashlights powered by 2 D cells. When it comes to replacing these NiCad cells with something more modern, we have to keep in mind that this very simple circuit obviously doesn't have any kind of intelligent charging controller. It's taking advantage of the fact that you can continuously charge an NiCad cell, and even when it gets fully charged, you can continue to keep charging it, and it'll just burn off the extra charging capacity as heat, which it obviously has been doing, judging by the burn marks on the circuit board. To a certain extent, you can also get away with continuously charging a nickel metal hydride battery, especially if you're just going to be trickle charging it at a relatively low current, like this circuit is doing, but definitely not with any kind of lithium battery. If you try to continuously charge one of those, very bad things will happen. I thought production of new NiCad batteries ended years ago, but apparently not, because they're still readily available on eBay, unless maybe these are mismarked nickel metal hydride batteries, which are mostly electrically compatible with NiCads. Either way, I got a pair of half AA size 1.2 volt 300 milliamp hour rechargeable batteries, which are an almost exact replacement for the ones in that General Electric security light. They cost $7.95, and I got them from a seller called Batteries in a Flash, which hopefully is a description of their shipping speed and not a description of what happens when you try to charge them. And a few days later, here are those batteries in a flash. I don't know if there's any way to tell whether these are actually NiCad batteries, as they claim, or if, as I suspected, these are just relabeled nickel metal hydride batteries. Either way, they both measure 1.28 volts, so they are at least the right voltage for what I need. And here's a quick test using some clip leads before I solder it all together. I have it all connected, and if I touch the switch contacts in the on position, and I get it just right, the light comes on. There it goes. And here is the auto position. And again, if I get the contacts just right, of this switch, I should clean this. If I get the contacts just right, the light also comes on in the auto position. Okay, I think that's all soldered together. And there are the new batteries soldered into place just as precariously as the original ones were, just sort of hanging there. And if I touch my switch contacts together, the light lights up. So it should be working now. And now it's all back together. It's currently connected to AC power, and you can see the orange indicator, meaning it's charging the battery. And I have it set to the auto position, so if I cut power to it, the light should come on. And indeed, it does. And if I restore power, the light goes out. And I can also turn it on at any time by putting it into the on position, even when it's not connected to power. So you can use it as a portable flashlight. Those new batteries I put in are rated at 300 milliamp hours, and it just so happens that number 14 bulb draws 300 milliamps. So that makes the math easy. That means this lamp should last for 1 hour when running on those batteries. Now it's actually the next day. I left this charging overnight as GE recommends. So right now it's 9 o'clock, so I'm going to cut power. And the light comes on, and I'll see how long it lasts. Well, it's been 3/4 of an hour so far, and the light is definitely still going, and definitely still putting out a decent amount of illumination. We're coming up on 1 hour, and I'm definitely starting to see it dim a bit. And due to the way that NiCad and especially nickel metal hydride batteries work, you don't get much advance notice when it reaches the end of its charge. It's just going to rapidly fade out and go to nothing in probably just a few minutes. So I'll leave my camcorder recording to try to catch that on video to see exactly how long it lasts. And it's really starting to fade out now, so it's pretty much done. It's pretty much at a nightlight level right now, and not really much usable light at this point. So I'd say an hour and 10 minutes maybe is the realistic expectation of the life of the batteries I put in this thing. And there the filament just went out entirely, so about 1 hour and 11 minutes total runtime. So now I'll reapply power, and it begins charging again. Another way you can use the security light is to leave the switch in the off position. In that case, it will not automatically switch on when the power goes out, but you can manually turn it on and have about an hour of light at your disposal, either remaining plugged into the wall, or you can disconnect it and use it as a portable flashlight. Just remember, the AC power input on this is only for trickle charging the battery, so even if it's plugged into power, turning on the light will drain the battery. But I do question whether GE actually designed the security light or if they just put their name on it. Because Black & Decker sold an identical looking product which they called the SafeLighter Power Failure Light. And it was superior to the GE version because its NiCad batteries were removable rather than soldered in place. And according to the copyright dates in its manual, Black & Decker sold it from 1989 until at least 1993. And over the years, there have been many other power failure lights, including this one by Intermatic, which claimed to give you 75 minutes of light on a charge. This one from Radio Shack's Archer brand, which gave you 40 minutes of light. And a much more recent one from Harbor Freight, still using an incandescent bulb and NiCad batteries, which claims to give you 60 minutes of light. And these days there are modern power failure lights using LEDs, which will last even longer on a charge. But nonetheless, I'm glad to have restored this vintage General Electric security light, so it can continue to serve its purpose for many years to come.